So is there a phone number that they can call?
Yes, the local hotline, human trafficking hotline, is area code 727-562-4917. And the information that is left on that hotline goes directly to human trafficking investigators here in the Tampa Bay area.
And can you repeat the phone number?
727-562-4917.
And will the police arrest a person who calls for help?
No, no. As a matter of fact, under the federal law, victims of human trafficking have a number of legal rights and remedies that are available to them as victims. They are considered crime victims, not suspects. Most victims of human trafficking, most international victims, are indeed undocumented immigrants here in the United States. They are illegal immigrants. However, because of their status as a victim, they are treated as crime victims, not as crime suspects.
Are trafficking victims deported if they call for help?
No, no. As a matter of fact, if the victim cooperates with law enforcement and cooperates with the investigation, they're entitled to actually stay in the United States under what initially is called continued presence, and then ultimately could become a T visa, and they're actually allowed to remain in this country for up to 4 years. That's important for us as investigators because the victim's testimony and the victim's assistance is critical to the prosecution of the trafficker.
What types of help can victims get in Pinellas County?
We have a wide variety of resources here in Pinellas County for trafficking victims. Everything from housing, medical assistance, mental health assistance, food, job training, legal assistance. We have 2 attorneys on the task force that are dedicated to providing legal assistance to human trafficking victims. So we've been able to build a coalition of resources in Pinellas County to provide all these services to trafficking victims.
Can you get help if you don't speak English?
Yes, all of the services that I just mentioned have bilingual capacity, and they have staff on staff who are bilingual and speak Spanish as well as English.
Are children ever trafficking victims?
Children are often trafficking victims, unfortunately. It's estimated that of all trafficking victims worldwide, about 80% are women and children. And unfortunately, children are often trafficked into the commercial sex trade, and it presents just a very tragic circumstance that unfortunately we have to deal with.
How can parents protect children from traffickers?
Well, aside from practicing good, solid parenting skills, and that means, knowing where your children are, knowing who they hang out with, knowing who their friends are, participating with your children in various activities. Beyond that, I would say be extremely cautious of anyone who approaches you and offers your child a better life or a better opportunity if they go with this person. Sometimes this person that approaches you with a deal like that may be somebody you actually know. And in some cases, it's even been family members. But you have to be extremely cautious when somebody offers you a deal that involves your child. And typically, you should always say no.
Is it ever legal for an employer to take a person's passport or other legal documents?
No, it is not. As a matter of fact, the federal law that addresses human trafficking specifically addresses that. Your documents, whether it be your identification documents or your immigration documents, belong to you, and nobody has the authority to take those away from you. And anytime someone attempts to take those away from you or to withhold them from you, that should raise some red flags, and you should notify authorities.
Is it ever legal for an employer to beat up an employee?
No, not at all. That type of situation is addressed by a variety of laws in the United States, not only those dealing with human trafficking. But workplace violence is against the law, and no, is not condoned in this country.
Do U.S. citizens ever become victims of trafficking?
Yes, as a matter of fact, they are. We're actually seeing an increased number of U.S. citizens, primarily women and children, younger women and children, being trafficked into commercial prostitution operations. In fact, we broke up a major human trafficking operation right here in Pinellas County that involved 5 women who are U.S. citizens who were victims of trafficking and were being held against their will by an organized ring of traffickers right here in Pinellas County.
Well, our time is about up, Deputy Chief Williams. Will you please tell us again what phone numbers trafficking victims can call for help?
Sure, absolutely. Locally in the Pinellas County, Tampa Bay area, we have a 24-hour human trafficking hotline, and that number is 727-562-4917. That is a recorded line that you can leave your information, and that information will be provided to one of our human trafficking detectives right away. If you have questions about human trafficking or questions about services available to trafficking victims, I would encourage the viewers to contact the Hispanic Outreach Center in Clearwater. And the Hispanic Outreach Center phone number is 727-445-9734, and they also provide services in both English and Spanish. Now, for any individuals who are outside the Tampa Bay area or elsewhere in the country, the Department of Health and Human Services has a nationwide hotline, which is 1-888-428-7581, and that receives information from around the country and is then forwarded to the appropriate law enforcement agencies in the jurisdiction where the complaint originates. So there's 3 resources that your viewers have right here in the Tampa Bay area.